All right, so I do need you guys to open your classroom, Google Classroom, please. All right. The assignment that we're on today is the create a survey one. Vince, I need you to unsubmit, okay? All right, so everybody's there? Everybody's in there. Okay. So you're going to create a survey. Here are your parameters. Your questions should be of various types. All right. We're going to look at that. Did we look at various types of questions a little bit last time?
Yeah.
A little bit. So we're going to revisit that. Second point, your question must pertain to your topic. Third, it should not be a quiz, right? You're not quizzing people about what they know. You're not the teacher and they're the student. It's not a quiz. Instead, you're trying to learn something, okay? So the information should be useful that you're gathering. It should be useful. And it must contain at least 5 questions. You, of course, can do more than 5, but 5 is the minimum, all right? So, and then I gave you the link to follow to remind you of the different types of questions. So we're just going to review these really quick. Does this look familiar? Here we go. So here's a guide to 5 types of survey questions, and you don't need to do all of the different types, but some kids sometimes just turn in nothing but yes/no questions, and I'm not going to accept that, okay? They need to be varied, different kinds of questions. So there's the open-ended question, like this, describe something. This one says, describe your relationship with your child. The problem with an open-ended question is they're very hard to put into a chart, right? So how do you turn that into numbers? So you might not want to use this type, okay? But it is a type, and you can use it. The second one, you'll probably use a considerable number of these, multiple choice question. Now, there are 2 kinds of multiple choice question. There's the kind of multiple choice where the people can only pick one, or there's a kind where you say choose all that apply, right? So, in this case, what is your marital status? Obviously, the person is only one of those things, so they would just choose one. But if you said, which of these marital statuses have applied to you in the past? Obviously, everyone's been single. Some people have been also this. Some people have been married and divorced, right? It could be a combination of things over time. So keep that in mind. There are 2 different types of multiple choice questions. Again, in your actual assignment, which is your homework tonight, there's the link to this. So you don't have to forget it and not remember. You can follow that link, okay? Next one, the ordinal scale question. This one asks people to rank a range of items. This is very underused, but it's a great type of question. You could tell people, which do you think is most important? Right? And this one says, when considering a job offer, please rank the importance of the following. Please fill in your rank order numbers using 1 through 5, with 1 being the most important, right? So then my choices are positive work environment, salary, benefits, vacation time, or challenging workload. So I can tell you, for me, the most important thing when I look for a job is a positive work environment. That would be my number 1, right? Someone else taking this survey, they might say, oh, the most important thing to me is how much vacation time I get, right? Or Ryan, you're saying salary, maybe that would be your one. So it's not a right or wrong question, right? But you're asking them to rank things on which they think is important. So use this is a great kind of question, all right? That's a good one. All right, next is the interval. You should definitely make use of this question. So this is the most commonly used question type. So on an interval scale, it's important that there's space between each option. Remember, we saw what happens when you don't put space. Remember that?
Yep.
We looked at that survey a kid did, and it looked like 2 choices had been circled, remember? Because he didn't space out the choices enough. So you got to space them out. But that's where you give them that scale. How likely are you to use this laundry detergent? And you'd have like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you would, and down here you put extremely unlikely and extremely likely. And then they're just basically ranking where on this whole scale they fall. It's a great type of question. Yes, Josh?
What are we going to be using with all this data? Are we going to be making what are we going to be making?
You're going to be making graphs and charts.
Oh, and
Yeah.
that's going to be added to our project?
Yes, exactly. And I'll
So
show
I
you.
don't have to write another paper on
No,
stuff.
no, you will put a paragraph underneath your chart to explain it, but no. Right. You're going to be making graph charts, and we'll look at that in just a minute. Okay, let me see. The ratio scale question. This type of question asks respondents to respond in a measurable way. Okay, so how many hours a day do you spend on a computer? Or watching TV, or whatever it relates to. Also, you a lot of times want to have a bracket, right? 0 to 1, 2 to 4, 3 to 5. Then it becomes more of a multiple choice question. But a number is useful because numbers turn into data. Okay? So to your question of, back to Josh's question of what are we going to do with this, which is a very good question. We go past the ethics. Everybody turned in their ethics. So we're ready to move forward. We talked about making a survey. Do you guys remember all this?
Yeah.
How knowledgeable people are and how much does it matter to people. You're asking their opinions. You're not asking about their knowledge. Okay, it's not a quiz. You're asking about well, you can ask how knowledgeable like on a scale, but I'm saying it's not a quiz. Do you know this? Yes or no. Do you know this? Yes or no. We don't. That's not what we want. Okay. All right. So there's some scaled questions, right? A yes or a no is okay, but if you can turn it into a scale, that's better, right? Because a lot of things aren't just yes or no. For example, one student asked a question. Do you think when someone commits a crime that their punishment, they should have to experience the same thing that they caused to someone else?
Yep.
That's not a very black and white question, right? I might feel like, well, it depends, or maybe in certain circumstances, or maybe I kind of feel like that, right?
It's kind of like if you injure someone, like some people might say, yeah, the punishment should be injured back, but it's like they steal like something from the store. It doesn't really make sense for the store to steal something from them.
Right, exactly. So that's why sometimes a yes or no isn't the best choice, right?
Yeah.
A range can be a better choice. Is everybody paying attention? I see people typing and moving on their computers, and we're looking here. So you need to be paying attention, okay? Because later you're gonna make sure you want to know this. Okay. So here again is that link to the survey questions. So here was an actual survey, right? We looked at someone's survey. And this is what you're going to be doing for your homework. You're going to be creating a survey. Hopefully it won't look like this with all yes or no's, right? Hopefully it'll be more varied. If you want to get a good grade on it, it will be, right? Here's one where, people did some different brackets. We've got a rating here, how many minutes, rating their importance on something. A little bit of yes or no, but now I'm giving my opinion on something. Another yes or no. This is too what?
It's not spaced enough.
Not spaced enough. That should be spaced out across the question. These really could be spaced a little more too, honestly. And this one, ooh. And what's the problem here?
Can't see it.
Yeah. If all the rest of your questions start on the left, this one should have been on the left too. That's why this person had so many that were not filled in. That's a problem. All right, here's one again. Tell me what's wrong with this one.
Not spaced enough.
Where?
Math, science, reading, powers, and PE.
Yeah, not spaced enough down here. There's no way your person's going to be able to just circle one and, well, they can, but do you think they're going to take the time to do it neatly? No, it's not that important to them. They're just going to do it quickly and...
Nobody knows.
Wasn't this different? You have to do it again?
No, it's different.
It's a little different.
It's improved a little, but it's another.
This one is comparing sports
That one's okay.
and grades.
Then the GPA number.
Yeah, right.
I don't
And that's another thing too. You gotta ask a question that someone actually knows how to do, right? Okay. So your homework, you're gonna create your survey, do an assignment on Google, but we have one more thing we need to talk about. We need to talk about bias. Okay? Because even the 7th and 8th grade have a hard time with bias. 7th and 8th grade have already done their surveys. We're going to be going over them today, but even they had some bias in their questions. Bias is a hard thing. So we're going to look at a handout that's going to help us talk a little bit about bias, okay?
I don't think I can understand to get like, so
Yeah.
when you say, we're going to look at that grade, and so which grades are going to do, we're going to take them, we're just look at
Say it again. Are you going to take the surveys?
Yeah.
6th graders are going to take the surveys. They can if you need them to.
No, I was saying, because you said we were going to look at the 7th and 8th grader surveys. Are we, us 5, going to take the surveys?
Yes, if they want you to. It's up to them. Every survey creator decides what they need their surveys to be tested for. So, okay. So here, let's look at this first one, gun control. It says, do you agree or